Up guys, it's The-Epiphany. Today I'd like to show you a complete Osamodas tutorial where I will be showing you every single spell from the Osa class and explaining what every single one does. I'll also be giving some advice about the Osamodas class so you know which spell to choose and so on. It's the 2.46 update 2 days ago, and the Astrub has actually got a complete revamp. It looks pretty nice. I finished the Silver Dofus quest earlier today. It only took me like 1.5 days. It was quite easy. Yeah, but basically what it does is if my HP is less than 20%, then at the start of my next turn, I will be healed up 20% of the HP. Yeah, so I'll be up to 40%. So it's kind of like a last lifesaver. Yeah, but basically the militia is one map above the Zap, and they put pouch ingballs inside here so that people who are not subscribers can train with these. I've also got my IOP here, VIlarin, just to help with some spells testing and so on. Okay guys, so it has taken me about a month or so, but I've mastered every single spell. Yeah, so another thing you got to keep in mind is that the spells level up along with your character. So level 1, 2, and 3 is what these are. So level 1, you'd have level 1 spell. Level 25, you'll have a level 2. Level 52, you'd have a level 3, and so on and so forth for all these levels. So for example, Symbiosa you'd get at level 100. Then when you reach level 147, it'll be a level 2 spell. Then level 197, it'll be level 3 spell. The variants on the right hand side you unlock past level 100. Variants meaning you can only choose one or the other, like two next to each other. You can only choose one or the other. This is quite devastating on for an int Osa such as myself. I'll explain later why. But yeah, basically variants, you choose one or the other only. Okay, so we're going to start off with Black Tofu, and I'm going to explain what that does. Okay, so Black Tofu is the simplest summon that an Osa has, and it's basically, it costs 3 AP, has free range, and it summons a Black Tofu. A Black Tofu has 3 AP, 13 MP, and low resist, 450 HP. And whenever it attacks the enemy, it has 2 range and does moderate damage. It reduces the lock of the enemy for 4 turns, and this is stackable if you have multiple Tofus. So that's basically it. Okay, the next spell I'll be explaining is Albino Tofu, which is the variant of Black Tofu. Now, Albino Tofu also costs 3 AP to summon. Yeah, 3 AP to summon, and has a spell. The spell has a range of 3. In fact, all the Osa summons have a range of 3. However, the difference is that Albino Tofu is has a cooldown of 2 turns and has more HP, but 5 less MP. Yeah. In terms of the attacking, Albino Tofu is capable of MP raping the enemy. See, like that? It actually got -3 MP of VIlarin, which is pretty nice. It's quite useful. It does more damage than the Black Tofu as well. It's useful for keeping away enemies, so it's a pretty good tool. Yeah, but obviously the downside, it only has 8 MP, and it has an extra turn cooldown compared to the Black Tofu. Okay, the next spell I'll be explaining is K9. This is a 3 AP spell. It inflicts air damage on the target, and it reduces their lock, which is you might not think is important, but let's say look at a situation like this where I am locked and I cannot use release because there is a wall in the way behind VIlarin. So if I move, I'll lose AP and MP. So in order to move, I need to reduce the person's lock. So using K9 costing 3 AP, I'm able to reduce VIlarin's lock by 40, and hence I'm free to run wherever I can. This is a useful spell for situations where if you're trapped and you cannot use release or you can't jump away or whatever, your only choice is to reduce the lock, and so you can run free. The next spell I'm going to go through is Repulsive Fang, which is the variant of K9. The spell is 4 AP, the range is 2 to 7, like this, and basically if you use it on an enemy and then that enemy ends next to your ally, then it'll be then the enemy will be pushed back. So for example, I'm going to use Repulsive Fang on VIlarin right now because she's the enemy. Then I'm going to summon, let's say, a Gorball, because a Gorball counts as an ally because it's on my team. Now I'm going to pass my turn. So now basically if VIlarin passes her turn, in other words ends her turn next to an ally, which in this case is the Gorball, then VIlarin will be pushed back in a direction that is opposite to me. So will be pushed back right there. I'm going to pass VIlarin's turn like that, yeah. So VIlarin gets pushed back. To be honest, I haven't found much use for this spell. It's only good if you are facing like a close combat character, like an Ogrenak or an Iop or something, so that they can be pushed back. But yeah, to be honest, I haven't found much use for this spell because most people I fight, or most teams I fight, range damage as well as close combat. So it's not always close combat characters I fight. The next spell I'll be explaining is Dragonic, which is a 3 AP fire damage spell, and it is basically hits in a straight line and acts like a prey spell from an Ogrenak, which basically means if you use it on the target and then you hit the target, then you'll gain 25% HP of the damage you deal. So firstly I need to hit myself so that I'm low HP. Oh god, I love Ivory. Alright, so I'll use Dragonic on VIlarin. Keeping in mind it is linear spell only, costs 3 AP. So now VIlarin has a thing that says Dragonic heals 25% of damage suffered. So I will do some damage to VIlarin. I did 324, so I gained 1/4 of that, which is 25% healed HP. Anyone can hit the target. It could be like an ally that hits the target that has Dragonic, and the ally will also get healed up. So if I had like an ally and I hit VIlarin with the ally, then that ally will also be healed up 25% of the damage. Useful for like Iop's Wrath if you use it on an enemy. It'll heal you like hundreds because of how strong the spell is. Okay, the next spell I'll be explaining is Aquatic Wave, which is the variant of Dragonic. Aquatic Wave is a linear spell, 6 range, costs 4 AP, and does water type damage. When you use it on the target, your summons will do extra damage to the target, an extra 25% damage. So I'll show you what this means. Okay, so I'm just going to summon the Gorball because it's a reliable source of damage. Alright, so let's say it does 181. And now I'm going to use Aquatic Wave on the enemy, and the Gorball should do more damage now because it has Aquatic Wave on it. Yeah, 226. Yeah, so basically Aquatic Wave increases the amount of damage your summons do on the target by making the target have 125% damage sustained. Now I'm going to explain Animal Link, which is a spell that merges with a summon so that you change your appearance, and it allows you to control all summons of the same class. Animal Link will kill the summon that you use it on, and that is the difference between Animal Link and Animal Union, which I'll explain later. But basically, once you merge with a summon, you can control all summons of that class, and the class that class of summons will gain 2 AP. There is also a bonus for the caster depending on what type of transformation. For Tofu, you gain 2 MP. For Gorbal, you gain damage sustained of 80%, which is basically reduces damage suffered by 20%. Wormling, you gain a healing bonus. I believe it's 50 heals, but I'm not sure. Toad, you gain 10% spell damage. Yeah, so that's Animal Link. I'm going to test, well not test, but use some of these spells so you guys know what it looks like. Alright, so for Gorbal, use Animal Link on the Gorbal, and it lasts for 4 turns. Yeah, all Animal Link always lasts for 4 turns before it runs out. So now it allows you to control like all Gorbals because they're all the same class. So you can move, etc., etc. I'm going to explain the individual spells later on when I get to the actual spell of summoning the Gorbal itself. Same for the other classes. Yeah, so you can control all the types, all Gorbals you summon on the field whilst you are merged with a Gorbal. I'm just gonna get rid of them now and show you guys the next 2 transformations. Okay, so Tofu. Yeah, so the caster gains 2 MP. So I have 8 MP now, it's pretty nice. And I can control all Tofus on the field whilst I'm transformed. Like this. Once again, I'm going to explain the spells later on. Toad now. The Toad transformation is actually a bit ugly, but it's because it's new, so yeah, it'll probably get better. Yeah, so for Toad Merge, you get 10% spell damage for 4 turns. I can't kill that. Whatever. Yeah, so I no longer have control of the Tofu because I'm not merged in Tofu state. Last but not least is Wormlings. Yeah, that allows me to control the Wormling, which I can attack with. I'm going to explain what the spells do later on as well. Another thing I forgot to mention is that if you use Animal Link on yourself, it will unmerge from that specific summon. So you go back to your normal form and appearance like I am now. The next spell I'm going to be explaining is Animal Union. Now, in terms of the effects and the benefits for the caster, it's all the same. The only difference, well, there's 2 differences. No, 3 differences. The spell costs 3 AP, whereas Animal Link costs 1 AP. So that's a disadvantage. The range is also 1 to 5, whereas Animal Link is 0 to 6. So that's less range, which is also a disadvantage. However, the advantage of it is that it does not kill the summon when you merge. So I'll show you what this means. So I summon, let's say, a Wormling, and I use Animal Union on it. It does not kill the summon. However, like I said, it costs 3 AP to use, and the merge only lasts for 2 turns. That's the main disadvantage. It only lasts for 2 turns. So you need to be careful about this spell, because you're going to have to use it again every 2 turns as the thing runs out. So if you don't have a summon on the field for you to merge with, then you're pretty much screwed. Another thing is that you can't use it on yourself because the range is 1 to 5, so you can't unmerge. The cooldown is 2 turns as well, which only allows you to use it again once the merge has run out. Now I'm going to explain Fossil. Fossil is a 3 AP spell, range 1 to 6, and it does earth damage. And it reduces the MP which enemies have, and the chance which it reduces MP is impacted by the stat MP reduction. Here, I only have 35, so I'm probably not going to be able to rape any MP, but let's see. Rape 2 MP surprisingly. Yeah, but yeah, the spell is used for raping MP, and as an int Osa, I don't use it much, but in emergency, if I need to rape MP to stop something from getting close, then I'll use Fossil. The next spell I'm going to explain is Sedimentation, which is the variant of Fossil. It's an earth damage spell. It costs 3 AP, range 1 to 3, and it rapes the enemy's power. It rapes the enemy's power. Oh, whoops. Yeah, it rapes the enemy's power. So it can be useful in situations where, let's say, an IOP, like on the enemy's team, is about to use Wrath, and you have no other way of avoiding it. Then you use Sedimentation on the IOP, and it will definitely reduce the IOP's damage by like 200 or 300, I'd say, because Wrath is a very strong spell. Yeah, so it is quite a useful spell for raping damage, or power, but yeah, power is what affects damage. Now I'm going to explain Gorball, which is actually a white Gorball, but it's Gorball, so yeah. The spell is cost 4 AP, range is 1 to 3, like all Osa summons. The Gorball has a lot of HP. It's actually got the most HP compared to every other summon, and it has the highest resist. Gorballs are definitely for a tank Osa, like more of like a strength Osa, where it coincides very well with the whole notion of strength Osas being at the front of the line, taking the damage, because Osas have a lot of once merged, Osas have a damage sustained, and the Gorballs have high resist. Yeah, but in terms of what the Gorball does, it rapes dodge. So how is this useful? Let's say I use Symbiosa. I'll explain what that does later, but basically it controls the summon. So I go up to a wall, and then I pull the enemy, and I rape the guy's dodge. So he will be unable to dodge. He'll be unable to move, and he can't release because there's a wall behind the Gorball, so he's stuck. So that's what you use a white Gorball for in terms of raping the enemy's dodge, so that they are locked. Yeah, so it's pretty nice. Alright, the next spell I'll be explaining is Sacrificial Fire, which is the variant of Gorball. This spell is actually, I love this spell before the 2.45 updates. It's saved my life in many fights, saved allies as well. It basically kills a summon and recovers 65% of its HP to people who are in the area effect of the summon. So for example, I summon a Podgy Tofu and I Sacrificial Fire it here. I will gain 585 HP, which is 65% HP of the Podgy Tofu. So anyone in this area of effect will also gain that HP. So I use it if like I have an ally who is low HP and myself who is low HP, then I can use it and we both gain HP. Yeah. So obviously, so using Sacrificial Fire like this, it doesn't. The enemy, if there's an enemy in the area of effect, the enemy does not get healed. Another trick with this is if you use, let's say, High Energy Shot, which increases its vitality. I'll explain that properly what that does next, and then you use Sacrificial Fire on the Red Wormling. It'll gain 65% HP off that, which is a high amount, and that has saved my life many times as well. I'm going to explain what that does later on when I get up to it. What I'll be explaining is Call to Order. The spell kills a summon and you recover the AP which was used to summon it in the first place. That's if it was a Tofu, Gorball, Toad, or Wormling. Alright, so I'll show you what this means. Alright, so we have Black Wormling, which is it costs 3 AP to summon. So if I summon that and I use Call to Order, then I'll gain 3 AP from it. But the spell costs 1 AP to use, so in the end I'm only gaining 2 AP. So I should have 10 after this. Yeah, like that. Yeah, if it was like a bigger summon, like a Red Wormling or a Podgy Tofu, which costs like 4 AP, then using this Call to Order, I will gain 4 AP. I'll recover 4 AP from it. But since the spell only costs 1 AP, it costs 1 AP, then in reality I'm only gaining 3 AP total. So I should have 11 from this. Yeah, like that. The spell is useful if a summon is like far away and you want to kill it to gain AP so that you can kill the, like, deliver the final blow to an enemy, then that's what you kill it for. Also, if you are out of summons and you need to make room so that you can summon like another summon which is useful in that situation, then that would be the case. For example, you're out of summons and you want to summon a Red Wormling to unbewitch the enemy's buffs or something like that, then you have no choice but to use Call to Order to kill a summon, and then you summon a Red Wormling to unbewitch the buff. Or you could just kill the summon manually with like attack or something, but that costs more AP. The last thing I want to mention about this spell is that if it is used on a summon that is not a Gobble, Toad, Wormling or Tofu, then you don't gain any AP from it. It just kills the Chafer like this. This can be useful for situations where, let's say, an allied summon was blocking you from hitting the enemy, or an allied summon was blocking you from being able to get line of sight to heal an ally. Then you use it to kill the summon. It can only be used once per turn. The next spell we're going to be showing is Protective Balm, which is the variant of Call to Order. The spell is 2 AP and it has 1 to 6 range. It applies 20% of your max HP in terms of shields to the summon. But you also lose 10% of your max HP neutral damage. So let's say I summon a Red Wormling and I use Protective Balm on it. Yeah, it gains 875 shield because that is 20% of 4,378, which was my max HP. And I lose 10% HP. Now you might be wondering, 10% HP of that should be 430. But why did I lose only 219? That is because it incorporates the resistance. I have 42% resistance of neutral and 40 fixed resistance. So that is why I only lost 219 instead of 430. That is also, the spell can also be used twice a turn, so you can use it on multiple summons in a turn, like that. Now the reason why people will use this is if they want to protect a summon from dying, then they can use it, but I personally don't really like it because I don't want to lose HP for the sake of protecting a summon. The next spell we're going to be showing is Podgy Tofu, which is an air damage summon. Yeah, so basically the summon is capable of pushing 4 squares back. So it can be used for pushing enemies back when needed. Yeah, 4 squares like this. Obviously, if it gets pushed towards a wall, then it'll suffer pushback damage. Another thing about this is that for all Tofu classes, if they are controlled by someone, then they unlock a spell which is Tofu Transposition. It's 4 range and is capable of swapping an ally. So it can be useful for swapping allies out of danger, but if you have multiple Tofus on the field at the same time, then you can only use Tofu Transposition once. Which is why it doesn't let me use it, because I use it on Albino Tofu already. Yeah, so let's say now I'm not merged with a summon. It's just going to attack simply like that. But it's not going to do anything. It's not going to swap. Another thing you need to know about Dofus is that they gain 30% damage for 5 turns, every turn for 5 turns. So it's stackable. Yeah, so this one's been alive for like 2 turns, so it's gained 60% already. Yeah, but that's why if you're facing an agility Osa, you should kill the Dofus as soon as possible because they gain more damage over time. The next one we're going to be showing is Takeoff, which is a 2 AP spell, range 1 to 6, 2 turns cooldown, and it basically swaps with an allied summons, and it kills that summon. To be honest, I love this spell. It was very, very nice before the 2.45 update, but now it's the variant of Podgy Tofu, so I can't use it with Podgy Tofu, which is quite unfortunate. Yeah, but basically it swaps with a summon and it kills the summon, and it'll do some air damage around you, around your old position, like that. Yeah. So it's very nice for getting out of danger or swapping something so that you can heal an ally who is about to die. It also works with any type of allied summon, like even in Entroth's Living Shovel or something like that, it'll work. Next one I'm going to be showing you guys is Whip. It is a 2 AP spell, 1 to 8 range, and has a different effect on an ally depending on what type of summon you are merged with. So I'm going to show you guys now. Let's start off with Gorbel. If you use it on an ally, they will gain 80% damage sustained, so they'll suffer less damage. So it's pretty much like a shield sort of. You can only use one of them. You can only have one whip on a person at the same time. So let's merge with like a Tofu. And I use whip on VIlarin, then the whip will make her gain 2 MP, but then she'll lose the whip from the previous turn. Wait, what? Yeah, she'll lose the whip from the previous turn. Because you can only have a max accumulation effect of 1. Yeah. Now merging with a dragon. What the spell does is basically heal. So I heal 353 on whip. It can be used twice a turn. Basically, that is a moderate heal. It's because I have a lot of resistance, so my gear is not really heal and int based, but that'll have to do. Okay, now merging with a toad. Whip makes the ally gain 200 power. All of these are for 2 turns, well, except for the heal. The heal is permanent. Yeah, all of these are for 2 turns. Let's say you lose your animal merge like this, casting it on yourself. The ally will still have that buff. And that's pretty much all you need to know. Oh, another thing is I explained what happens if you cast it on an ally, but if you cast it on an enemy, it simply does damage in the element that you merge with. So I'm merged with a dragon, Wormling, so it'll do fire damage. It does 11 to 12 damage base, which is stronger than a Leak Pie, because Leak Pie Leak Pie is 8 to 10 damage base, so Whip is stronger than Leak Pie. Next one I'm going to show you guys is Crop, which is the variant of Whip. Basically, similarly to whip, depending on what transformation the target has, what transformation the Osamodas has will have a different effect. The crop will have a different effect. So let's start off with Gorbel. There's an initial cooldown of 1 turn, so you can't use it on the very first turn. So on a Gorbel state, it will simply attract the target. Like that. Let's try with red worming state now and see what happens. It will simply repel the caster. So it'll push me back. Yeah, like that. I'm pretty sure it pushes back 3 squares, but since there was a wall there, that's why it did push back damage. And whip, no, not whip, tofu state. Tofu state will switch places with the target. Like that, which is pretty nice. Yeah. Last is Toad, and that will bring the caster towards the target. So let's see that again. Oh, I can only use it once. Okay. Yeah, but basically it pulls me towards the caster. The next spell I'm going to show you guys is Duster. Duster is an air damage spell, 4 AP cost, range 3 to 6, and it does air damage on an enemy. And basically, the more tofus that are present on the playing field, the more damage the spell does. So currently, spell does 174 because there are no tofus. I'm going to summon 1 tofu. Spell does a bit more damage, 207 to 218. I'll summon a 2nd tofu. And the spell does 240 to 251, which is even higher. The maximum number of tofus that can be on the field and affect the spell will be 5 tofus. If you have more than 5 tofus on the field, the spell's damage no longer increases. The next spell I'm going to show you guys is Plucking, which is the variant of Duster. What Plucking does is basically you use it on a tofu, and then at the end of the tofu's turn, it will explode and deal damage in an area of effect. So let's see that right now. I'm going to merge with a tofu so I can control this tofu. I'm going to use Plucking on it. So now I run up to the pouch ingball. I pass my turn and it will explode and do damage in an area of effect of 2 squares around the tofu. Like that. Keeping in mind I am not an agility Osa, and that already did 251, so that's quite nice damage. 391 agility. Yeah, so it is quite useful because sometimes tofus have low resist, low HP, so they tend to die quick. So sometimes people like to use Plucking instead of Repulsive Fang, just so that the tofu dies anyway. Yeah, but it is a pretty nice spell. It can also harm allies, so you've got to be careful not to use it, not to end the tofu near an ally, because the ally will lose HP as well. Next one I'm going to show you guys is Black Gorbel, which is an earth damage summon. It costs 3 AP to summon and has a range of 3 squares like any other summon. It's useful because it can apply gravity state to the target. Yeah, gravity state for 1 turn, denoted by that symbol above the head. If it's alive for more than 2 turns, then it can reuse contusion every 2 turns and apply gravity state every 2 turns. Now, if you were to control the Gorbel, then you unlock a spell which is Gorbel Attraction. The spell can be used to attract allies or enemies towards the Gorbel. This is useful for getting enemies away from allies or something like that. You can attract, it has a range of 6 squares. And obviously, so I'm going to change back. Yeah, so you can, if I hit again, then it'll be gravity state. Yeah, like that, because every 2 turns it can use gravity. It can apply gravity. The Gorbel Attraction spell, if you have multiple Gorbels on the field at a time, it can only be used by one Gorbel. Next spell I'm going to show you guys is Gorbli, which is the variant of Black Gorbel. Gorbli costs 3 AP to summon, just like Black Gorbel, but has a cooldown of 1. So it can be used once every turn, whereas Black Gorbel is once every 2 turns. Gorbli is a smaller summon. It has less HP, less resist, but more lock than the Black Gorbel. And basically what it does is it has the capability of AP raping the enemy. It can also hit twice a turn. However, since the pouch ingball has 0 AP, that's why it shows as dodge loss of 2 AP. Its damage is also weaker than the Black Gorbel. Similarly to the Black Gorbel, if it is controlled by the Osa, then it unlocks a spell called Gorbel Attraction, which allows it to attract the target. Next spell I'm going to show you guys is Black Wurmling, which is a fire type damage summon, and once every 2 turns. I'm going to merge with another Wurmling so that I can take control of this Black Wurmling and show you guys what it does. Okay, so when it attacks the enemy, any ally within 2 squares of that enemy will gain some HP, like that. And it also unlocks a spell which can heal your ally up. The amount which is healed is dependent on how much heals and intelligence the Osa has. Yeah, so that's that. Another thing to keep in mind with, see how it healed 286? If you use the spell Dragon's Breath, which I'll explain later on the target, then as your Black Wurmling attacks that target, then the allies around it will be healed twice, 286 twice. Black Wurmling can only hit one target once per turn, and if you have multiple dragons, multiple Wurmlings on the field, you can only use Drago Heal once per turn. Next I'm going to show you guys is Albino Wurmling, which is a variant of Black Wurmling. This spell can be used once every turn, whereas Black Wurmling was once every 2 turns. Now, how is it different? I'm going to merge with a Wurmling so I can take control of the Albino. Well, you can notice that Albino Wurmling has less HP than the Black Wurmling, and the only difference between it is that when it attacks, it can hit diagonally instead of only linear, and it does more damage than the Black Wurmling. It also has Drago Heal. Now, if you attack a target, then it does more damage than the Black Wurmling, but the ally does not get any heals from it. Notice before that when I use Black Wurmling to hit the target, then an ally receives heals of 286 once. But for now, if I use Dragon's Breath on the pouch ingball, then the Wurmling will heal VIlarin once, because VIlarin is within 2 squares of the pouch ingball. See, like that. Black Wurmling would heal VIlarin twice because of Dragon's Breath. Next I'm going to show you guys the Dragon's Breath, which is a 4 AP spell and does fire damage. This is the main attack I use because I'm an intelligence Osa at moderate range as well. But what does it actually do that is extra? In the previous 2 spells, Wormlings, I explained what it does. It causes the Wormling to heal an additional bit of HP. So I'm going to demonstrate what that means now. Okay, so let's have a look here. Red Wormling, if it attacks the pouch ingball, it's just simple damage. Nothing else happens. Just simple damage, no heal, no nothing. If Black Wormling attacks the pouch ingball, VIlarin will get healed once of 286 because VIlarin is within 2 squares of the pouch ingball. Now this is where Dragon's Breath comes into play. I'm just going to heal it up a bit and then I'll attack. Okay, so if I use Dragon's Breath on the pouch ingball, then the red Wormling will heal VIlarin once instead of 0. Like that. And the black Wormling will heal VIlarin twice instead of once because Dragon's Breath has an effect on the pouch ingball. Now keep in mind, it heals allies within the pouch ingball of a radius of 2 squares. It does not heal the summoner though. So if I was to end my turn within 2 squares of the pouch ingball and then the dragons will attack the pouch ingball, I do not get any heals from it. So I'll show you what that means. So if I attack it, I don't get any heals from it at all. It used to work, but then they changed it because it was too overpowered. Next one I'm going to show you guys is Dragon Heart, which is a variant of Dragon's Breath. Basically, if you use this spell on an ally, then whenever a dragon, a Wormling, takes damage, the ally will be healed no matter where he is on the map. I'm going to use Dragon's Heart on VIlarin right now, and then I'm going to summon some dragons. Okay, so basically, if before for Dragon's Breath, VIlarin would need to be right next to the enemy for her to get healed. But now, if I just attack the pouch ingball, VIlarin will get healed up over here. Similarly with Black Wormling, if I attack the pouch ingball, VIlarin will get healed up no matter where she is on the map, because VIlarin has the because I use Dragon Heart on VIlarin. So that's how it works. So if you guys want to choose between these 2 variants, I recommend Dragon's Breath because it's direct damage to the enemy as well. And as an int Osa, you need to be able to do some attacking yourself. Secondly, Dragon Heart only heals once, like 286 once, even if it's a Black Wormling. If it's Dragon's Breath on the enemy, then the ally will get healed twice instead. Next one I'm going to explain is Black Toad, which is one of the summons for a Chance Osa. The Black Toad is capable of doing poison damage on the target. So I'm just going to merge with a Toad right now and show you guys what this does. Okay, so I've just summoned a Black Toad. It has 2 spells, one of which does poison on the target. And it lasts for 4 turns. And it's also stackable. See, so that's 229 there, 110, 119. If we summon a second Black Toad and we do some more poison on it, and the first Black Toad we had can also poison again, that means it has a total of 6 poisons on it. Yeah, like that. So yeah, it loses HP 6 times and it is stackable. So this can get quite annoying. So if you're doing PvP versing a Chance Osa, it's best to kill the Black Toad as soon as possible. So now each and every one of these toads would do poison on the pouch ingball, and it should lose HP about 12 times, because 6 from the previous one and 6 from now. So it should lose 12 lots of HP. Yeah, like that. Yeah, I'm not even a Chance Osa myself, and that's already quite insane damage. If you verse Chance Osas, each of the individual poisons will do about 300 or 400 damage each. So it's best you kill the, it's best that you kill the toads immediately. Like, the spell can be, the toad can also be summoned once every turn, so it gets stackable many times, and it is quite lethal. Right now, after this turn, it's going to have a total of, I think, 20 poisons on it. Because 12 from the previous one plus 8 from now. All of these are stackable for 4 turns, so this is how many poisons it actually has. Another thing is that if you control a toad, it unlocks a spell which you can choose where you want to push the target to. So let's say I choose here, it'll push it there. Yeah, that is, like I said, it's stackable, so very annoying if you don't kill the toad when you're fighting a Chance Osa. Just gonna pass my turn. I'm not sure why they're not attacking, to be honest, but it should die now. Yeah. Very lethal in terms of stackable poisons. Next one I'm going to show you guys is Albino Toad, which is the variant of Black Toad. Now, after looking at Black Toad, you'll probably be thinking, obviously Black Toad is better. Why would you even need anything other than Black Toad? But Albino Toad is basically it's a summon that has more HP but can only be used once every 2 turns. Now, basically, the thing with Albino Toad is that the more MP it has remaining, the more damage it inflicts on the enemy. So its base damage is actually quite high, and it can attack twice per turn as well. So since I'm not a Chance Osa and I spam summons, I use Albino Toad instead of the other one, because every turn I'm summoning either 2 dragons, 2 Gorballs, 2 toads, or 2 Tofus. Alright, so I'm just going to control, merge with another toad so I can control the Albino Toad. Now, obviously, like with the Black Toad, if the toad is controlled, then you unlock a spell which can push back the target to wherever you choose. Let's say I choose here, then it'll push the thing there. Now, I have 4 MP, I'm going to use 3 MP and then attack. As you can see, it does less damage because I have less MP remaining. Yeah, so now it's just a matter of killing it. I'm going to unmerge because I don't want to control these anymore. Casting the spell Animal Link on yourself will unmerge. Yeah, like, Chance Osas are pretty strong in the game. You probably heard some people complain about them because of how strong they are. But yeah, now you guys know why. They are very strong indeed. Yeah. It's a matter of just killing them now. Next spell I'm going to show you guys is Crackler Punch, which is a 4 AP spell, 1 to 5 range, and does earth damage in an area of effect. The spell is useful for strength Osas specifically since they're strength. Also, the spell does not harm allies. So if you're trying to hit a target and there's an ally in the area of effect, such as a summon, then the spell does not harm allies. So you can see like this. Yeah, it does not harm allies. This spell used to be intelligence, however they changed it along with the 2.45 update, I believe. No. The first original update, which was back in 2016, I believe, where they got rid of the summoning of the Crackler Summoning the Bork Magus. Yeah, so that's Crackler Punch for you guys. It's just an area of effect spell that does earth damage. Next spell I'm going to show you guys is Constriction, which is the variant of Crackler Punch. It's basically a free AP spell that steals earth type health from the target. So in order to demonstrate this, I'm going to have to lose some HP myself first. So I'm just going to Protective Balm on that thing. Okay, so now I'm low HP. You can use Constriction on the pouch ingball, and I gain some HP as it deals earth damage. The spell is weaker than Crackler Punch, so if you want to use this spell, then you're making a loss because Crackler Punch is area of effect as well. So Crackler Punch is quite useful. However, some people choose to use this spell to like stay alive in PvP, I suppose, since it can steal HP. So that's fine. But it's for Strength Osa. The next spell I'm going to show you guys is Geyser, which is basically a water type damage spell, and it increases your power by 150 for 2 turns. Nothing special about it. Hit on the target, and you gain 150% power for 2 turns. It can only be stacked once, so if you use it again, then it's still 150 power, not more. Yeah, look at this, still 150 power. So nothing special about that. Next I'm going to show you guys is Natural Defense, which is the variant of Geyser. What this does is that it's a 2 AP spell with 1 to 7 range, and it makes an Osa's summon invulnerable for 1 turn, but the next turn the summon dies. You might be wondering, how is this useful? Well, see, in a situation like this where you need to lock something, and you want to ensure that the target remains locked so that they can't escape, then, for example, I summon a black Gobble here, and then I use Natural Defense on it, like this, and then I move the black Gobble to this spot here, and then Gravity State on the enemy, in this case is VIlarin. She's locked, she cannot jump, she cannot kill the Gobble either because it's in Gravity State, because it's invulnerable. So she can't do anything this turn, she can't escape, she can't jump, she cannot move the Gobble in any way, she can't kill the Gobble. So basically she's stuck there for 1 turn and she can't do anything. So for a situation like this, that's where Natural Defense will come in handy. It has saved my life many times because I've used it in situations like this where I lock the target and I make them stay there permanently for that turn so they can't do anything at all. Next I'm going to show you guys is Slimy Toad, which is a second summon for the Chance Osa. Slimy Toad has a cooldown of 3 turns, and it has 7 AP, 4 MP, or has 9 AP if I merge with a Toad. It has 900 HP, which is a lot, and can deal pretty nice damage. I'm just going to control it so you guys can see. So it's a Toad Slobber. It has an area of effect spell, area of effect range, so you can use it on someone next to the target, or you can use it on the target itself, and it'll do that. It also has a pushback spell, so that you can choose where you want to push the target, just like you would do for the other albino toad or black toad. Next I'm going to explain is Whirlwind, which is the variant of Slimy Toad, and it basically does water type damage on the enemy. If it is cast on an allied summon, it will do water type damage in an area of effect around the summon and will repel anything around the summon. So let's say I use a spell right now on that thing, it does nothing except for water type damage. If I put a summon and then I use a spell on the summon, it'll do type damage to anything around the summon, as well as push back anything around the summon by 1 square like that. Nothing too special about that. It's not a very good spell because if you use that, then you only have one of the other 2 toads to choose from. So people use they use Slimy Toad instead of Whirlwind. Next spell I'm going to show you guys is Spiritual Leash, which is a spell that revives the last ally to die at 50% of their HP. So what this does is basically, alright, so let's say I kill my ally right now. If I was to revive her, every single person in my team, except for the person that I just revived, will suffer from a minus 30% resistance for an infinite amount of turns for as long as that person is alive. If you were to use Spiritual Leash when you're doing solo PVM, then it'll revive the last summon on your team that has died, and you do not suffer from any resistance penalties if you were to revive an allied summons. Alright guys, so the next spell I'm going to show you is Animal Communion, which is a variant of Spiritual Leash. And what it does is that if you use a spell on yourself, then all your allied summons will share the damage they suffer. So I'm currently using my set that has 13 summons at the moment, and I've just summoned 13 summons. I'm going to use Animal Communion on myself. You see, there's a special effect that does it for every single summon on the field. Like that. So now, every single summon has Animal Communion on it. You can see the icon there, except for the Chafer. I don't think a Chafer counts as my original one of the 4 classes of summons. Yeah, so see that every time the Chafer food tends to hit your own teammate. I don't know why, but when it hit the Gorball, see how it all shared damage and all of them lost 7 HP only. So now I'm going to show you with the same thing. Now, let's say VIlarin was to use, let's start off with a weak spell like Leak Pie. Every single summon will lose the same amount of HP of 18. Now I'm going to go and Wrath the Red Wormling. Every single summon loses the same amount of HP, 110, which is why this spell is sometimes useful for keeping summons alive because they all share damage. However, I prefer Spiritual Leash because I PvP more and I need to revive an ally which is dead, which is why I choose the other variant. Yeah, but if you're like a summon spammer, this can be quite effective in keeping your summons alive. I have 13 summons on the field right now, and the spell is like overpowered, sharing damage between all of them. So yeah, but in the end, it's up to you guys what you want to use. Next spell I'm going to show you guys is Red Wormling, which is the primary intelligence Osa summon. It's a 4 AP spell, and it like all summons have a range of 1 to 3. It costs 4 AP to summon. It has 930 HP. I'm just going to merge with the Wormling so I can take control of this one. It has 5 MP, spell is linear, 7 range, and does pretty nice fire damage. It minuses 1 effect duration from the target, as you can see, so that's good for unbewitching buffs and stuff. Once controlled, you also unlock a spell that can heal your allies, Drago Heal, just like Albino Wormling and Black Wormling. If you have multiple Wormlings on the same field at the same time, you can only use Drago Heal on one type of Wormling. Yeah, so it is pretty nice. Like I said before, if you have an ally next to the target and you use Dragon's Breath, then when the dragon attacks, then the ally will get healed. But it does not work for the Osa because it's overpowered and they changed that. So it only works for allies if you have allies that are next to the target. So I'm just going to finish it off. Next spell I'm going to show you guys is Relay, which is the variant of Red Wormling. These two spells are very, very nice. Like, unfortunately, I have to go with Red Wormling because I'm an Int Osa and I need the summon, but these two are very, very nice variants. It's very difficult to choose which one because this one gives 2 AP to an ally for an infinite amount of turns, and if you use Relay on another ally, then it will swap positions with the previous ally that had relay, and the old ally that had relay will lose the effects of relay. So let's say I gave relay to VIlarin right now. It lasts for an infinite amount of turns, which is very nice. So now, for example, let's say VIlarin will jump in, do some damage. Now I can just summon some sort of summon, because that counts as an ally, or I could use it on a real allied character. Let's say I put this Gobble and I use relay on the Gobble. It'll swap positions with VIlarin, like that. This works anywhere on the map. Like even if like VIlarin was like down there, I could still swap. It's a very, very good spell because let's say you have an eye going in to do some damage, then you bring her out back to safety. That's what the spell is used for. It's a very, very nice spell. Unfortunately, I can't use it with Red Wormling, like I said before, because they are variants. If it was a chance Osa, a strength Osa, or an agility Osa, they definitely will be using this spell. So that's one of the disadvantages of being an int Osa. You also see that VIlarin has lost the effects of relay. She only has 13 AP because of Ochre, but she has 12 AP because now the Gobble has the 2 AP buff, and that is denoted by the symbol above the head. Next spell I'm going to be showing is High Energy Shot, which is a free AP spell and has free range, and it buffs a summon up by giving them 100% vitality, 2 AP, 2 MP, and increases final damage inflicted by 60%. The spell has a cooldown, initial cooldown of 1 turn, so I can't use it on the first turn. So just gonna have to wait. Yeah, but let's say my Whelming right now does like 440 damage. I'm going to buff it up with High Energy Shot. The cooldown is 4 turns, and the buff lasts for 3 turns. It is unbewitchable, so if enemies unbewitch it, then that's bad luck. Red Wormling will hit again and will do 704 damage, which is a lot more than the previous 440. All the other spells remain the same. Drago heal, can heal allies, etc. Yeah, it's very nice. The next one I'm going to show you guys is Favoritism, which is a variant of High Energy Shot. The spell is absolutely broken. They nerfed it, but it's still broken because whenever I face Osas using this spell, it's bloody ridiculous. It's abusive as well. So the only way you can win versus this is you have to kill the summon before the Osa uses Favoritism, because it'll get buffed up. Okay, I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to be using Gobble for this example, and then next, after this fight, I will show you guys an example with Toad, because those two are the summons that people tend to use this Favoritism with, Strength and Chance Osas. Okay, so Favoritism. It sacrifices summons, and it'll buff up the targeted summons, meaning that the previous summons will die. So what Osas tend to do when they play is that they go to one side of the map, they spam summons at that corner, and then they use Favoritism on, let's say, their main summon, which is a Gobble. So right now, I have 4 summons out, excluding the Gobble, which is why if I use Favoritism, it's going to gain 100% damage and 200% vitality and 4 AP, 4 MP. It'll also get bigger, like this. Yeah. So now, it does a lot more damage. And I'm not even a strength Osa, so that's pretty high damage. The max accumulation effect is 10, so you can sacrifice a total of 10 summons. I'm going to spam some summons at the back corner here, and then once Favoritism's cooldown runs out, I will use it again. In the past, it used to be a cooldown of 2 turns, and the damage buff would be 30%. but that was too overpowered, so they nerfed it. Okay. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 summons that are going to get sacrificed, plus the 4 summons previously. So that means once I use favoritism, that means it'll be buffed by a total of 9 dead summons. Now look at the amount of HP it has. Look at that 16 AP, 12 MP. It's pretty much unkillable at this stage. It does an insanely high amount of damage. I'm not even a strength Osa and it's capable of doing that much damage. Strength Osas can do about 2,000 damage per Gorbal bite at this stage of the thing. It can only, even though the Gorbal has a ton of AP and MP, can only use Gorbal bite twice per turn on a target. And Gorbal attraction still remains the same, can only be used once per turn as well. So that's pretty overpowered if you ask me. So in order to beat this Gorbal, well, to beat the Osa, you have to kill the Gorbal before the Osa can make it this big. The only way to do that is to either swap the Gorbal down so your team can kill it, or kill the Gorbal somehow, I guess. But it is quite difficult because normally Osas who use the spell is in a big map, and by the time you reach them, the Gorbal will already be big. Okay, so now I'm going to demonstrate favoritism with a toad. Now the toad does moderate damage, like 240 and 290. That's how much a normal Gorbal does at base damage. So let's build it up with favoritism and see what happens. I'm going to try and get it up to 9 summon sacrifice, just like the previous one with the Gorbal, so we can compare the damages. But the toad has lower resist than the Gorbal, but there is a special trick up its sleeve. I'll show you guys later on. Okay, so now it's sacrificing 4 summons, and it's getting a bit bigger. Okay, 638. I believe that is stronger than the previous summon, for previous one for sure. Okay, I'm just gonna wait and build it up to 9 summons again. It has cooldown, so we're gonna have to wait for the cooldown to finish. Oh, unfortunately, Animal Link run out, so I'm gonna have to merge again. Okay, let's see now. Currently, it has a total of 4 summons sacrificed for it, which is why it's 4 AP, 4 MP, because each summon is 1 AP, 1 MP extra. Now it's going to be a total of 9 summons sacrificed, because we have 5 here and 4 from the previous one. Okay, favoritism, 4,950 HP and 13 MP, 18 AP. Some guy wants me to give him right to place a Preceptor, because I'm second in command, so I have the right. Okay, now I'll show you guys why this is absolutely broken. I'm going to heal this thing up to max HP. Now remember when I was explaining the Slimy Toad spell, how I said that the attack can have an area of effect? So even though you can only use the spell twice on that target a turn, if you have an ally standing next to it, you can use it twice on that ally as well. And as an area of effect, the Poutch Ingball also loses HP. So in reality, you can hit the Poutch Ingball 4 times. Now look at that damage. Just look at that damage. That is more than a Gorbal and can be used 4 times on a turn on the target. I'm not even a chance Osa, but if I was a chance Osa, that would be doing around 2,000 per hit, which is absolutely overpowered. So the only way to beat an Osa who plays Favoritism is to kill the summon before it gets big. Other than that, if you can't kill the summon, then you're pretty much screwed. You have to kill the Osa before, then you have to go for the Osa and kill the Osa fast, because the longer that the summon is alive, the more damage it's going to do. And since all of these buffs are for an infinite amount of turns, yeah, you either kill the summon or you kill the Osa. There's no other way to win, which is why it's completely broken. The next spell I'm going to show you guys is Symbiosa, which is the last spell you get level 100. Basically what the spell does is control an allied summons. So let's say, okay, so let's say I'm merged with a Wormling right now. That means I can control Wormlings. But if I want to control another class of summons, let's say a Gorbel, then I summon a Gorbel and use Symbiosa. Symbiosa has a range of 1 to 9, does not require a line of sight, and can be used once every 2 turns. So I can obviously unlock the special spell, so I can attack as well, controlling the Gorbel. The spell Symbiosa is useful for situations where you need to unlock that special spell, such as Attraction, or since summons are usually stupid if you don't control them, then you control them so that you can do the right thing with them. The spell can actually be used for any type of allied summon as well. If you have an Enotroph in your team and it summons a Living Shovel, you use Symbiosa on the Living Shovel and it controls the Living Shovel. If you have let's say, a Sadida on your team, they summon a Mardol or an Ultra Powerful, you can use Symbiosa on the Mardol or Ultra Powerful to control that as well. So it is quite a useful spell, which is why I use it. The last spell I'd like to show you is Replacement. This is the final spell, which is earned at level 200. It's a variant of Symbiosa. What this does is that it kills the targeted summons and replaces it with another one, depending on what you're transformed into. So, for example, if I'm transformed into a Wormling, for example, I can summon a Gorbel or a Tofu or a Toad, and then I use Replacement. It will kill that Gorbel and replace it with a black Wormling, because that is that's a black Gorbel, so it will replace it with a black Wormling because I'm merged with a Wormling at the moment. Okay, let me just show you this again. I'm going to summon a Gorbel now. Since this is a white Gorbel, it will replace it with a red Wormling, because so basically black Gorbel is like similar to black Wormling, which is similar to albino Tofu, or black Tofu, which is similar to albino Toad or black Toad. So you replace a Gorbel, it'll get you a Wormling, a red Wormling like this. If that was a Podgy Tofu, then it'll also replace it with a red Wormling. The spell is useful for Osas that don't want to use like for Osas that want to get additional summons out there when their original summons are on cooldown. So let's say I wanted to use I wanted to summon a red Wormling, but I had red Wormling on cooldown. I would summon a Gorbel or a Podgy Tofu and then use Replacement on that, and then that will get me a red Wormling. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you've just learned about all of the Osamodas' spells, as well as seen them in action. I will now explain which ones I use and why. I use Albino Tofu instead of Black Tofu because Albino Tofu is capable of MP raping, and seeing as though the cooldown is 2, I don't really care about that, because I am a summon spammer. So one turn I'll be summoning, let's say, 2 dragons. Next turn I'll be summoning 2 Gorbels. Next turn I'll be summoning 2 Tofus, etc. It is unnecessary because let's say I wanted to summon Albino Tofu and Podgy Tofu this turn, then the next turn I'll be summoning a different class. Because if you summon, let's say, a Gorbel, then you can't summon another summon of a different class during that same turn. So to spam summons, you have to summon 2 Gorballs in the same turn, or 2 Wormlings in the same turn, or 2 Tofus in the same turns, and so on. So that's why I choose that. It also has more HP, so it survives longer than a black tofu. Does more damage than a black tofu as well. I use K9 because K9 is it reduces lock, so it can allow me to escape if I can't use release or I can't like move away because I'm locked. Then it will reduce the person's lock, so I can dodge. Dragonic is common sense. I'm an int Osa. I don't need water type damage spell, and I can use that on an enemy and then have an ally attack the enemy, and the ally will get healed 25% of that. I use Animal Link over Animal Union, which is a bit it's a bit ironic because I'm a summon spammer, so I should be using this one because it doesn't kill the summon when I merge. But I like to use Animal Link because it costs 1 AP instead of 3, and it lasts for 4 turns as well, so I don't have to keep using it every 2 turns, which is why I prefer that. I use Fossil instead of Sedimentation because it's 3 AP, and sometimes I need to rape MP of enemies to prevent them from reaching me or reaching my teammates. I don't really care about power raping because I have high resist, so in the end enemies will do less damage on me either way. Gorbel and Sacrificial Fire is extremely debatable. I love these 2 spells. Before the 2.45 update I could actually use them both, but now I can only use one of them. I use Gorbel because I'm a summon spammer. I summon 2 Gorballs in the same turn. I have high resist as well, and I usually PvP with like a Sacri on my team so they can save my life if I'm about to die, so I don't really need Sacrificial Fire for heals. Especially with that Ivory Dofus I got, it's very, very nice. I usually don't lose much HP in PvP at all. I use Call to Order instead of Protective Balm because sometimes I run out of summons, believe it or not. I have 8 summons in this set, but sometimes I run out. So I need to kill it and summon a new one. Also, if summons are far away and I need to recover AP so I can summon something else, or I can deliver the final blow to an enemy at a critical time of the fight, Call to Order is the thing that allows me to do that. Protective Balm is unnecessary because it's not really worth it to lose your own HP just for the sake of protecting a summon. Well, actually, if you could use this spell on an ally to protect your ally, I'd choose this one over Call to Order, but since it's only for summons, I don't like it. Poutch Tofu and Takeoff, once again, 2 very, very nice spells. I love them both before the 2.45 update. But I go Poutch Tofu because I'm a summon spammer, and Poutch Tofu repels enemies as well, pushing them back, which is nice. I have a decent amount of dodge, I think like 71 or something, so I don't really need Takeoff to be able to swap something and escape from danger. I can just dodge. If I can't dodge, I use K9, so that's nice. I use Whip because I'm an int Osa, and int Osa Whip, once you merge with a Wormling, can heal, so healing is very nice. It also goes nicely in conjunction with my Brute Attacks Wand for healing allies, which is basically my role when it goes to PvP. Crop is unnecessary, there's no need for any of that stuff as an int Osa. Int Osa repels the caster, no need for that. I just use Release or summon a Poutch Tofu. Duster and Plucking, I don't really care. They're both useless for my build, but I choose Duster in case I fight an enemy that has too much fire resist and I need to use air damage to kill or attack. Black Gorbel and Gorbly, they are both quite useful, but I choose Black Gorbel. It has more HP and can apply Gravity State to enemies. Gravity State is very nice, sometimes saves you the game because it prevents an eye from using Wrath. There's no need for AP raping enemies because the AP reduction of the Gorbly is actually quite low. I've tested it before. Much lower than the MP reduction of an Albino Tofu. Black Wormling, I use this instead of Albino Wormling because it has more HP, 1 more MP, and can heal more than an Albino Wormling. Yeah, like I said, an Into Osa's job is to heal its allies. So Albino Wormling can't heal by default, so that's bad. Black Wormling is a bit weaker than Albino Wormling, but I don't really care though because it's like Black Wormling's job is to heal. I got Red Wormling for damage and Dragon's Breath for damage as well. Black Toad or Albino Toad. I choose Albino Toad because it does direct damage and hits twice a turn. It does like 290 per hit. Like I said, I spam summon, so I'm going to be summoning two Toads, 2 Tofus, 2 Wormlings, 2 Gobbles on the same turn. Black Toad has a cooldown of 1, so it's only necessary for Osas that are chanced who will summon Black Toad every turn. Because if you summon a Black Toad, that means you can't summon a Gobble, Wormling, or Tofu on that same turn. Crackler Punch or Constriction, these are both useless for me as well, but I use Crackler Punch because sometimes there's a SRAM that is invisible and I need to find whereabouts he is. Since Crackler Punch's area of effect, I can find the SRAM. Geyser or Natural Defense. Geyser is useless because I'm not chance. Natural Defense is better for locking enemies with a Gobble, like I mentioned before, and keeping them locked so that they can't kill the Gobble and therefore being useless for a whole turn. Slimy Toad I use instead of Whirlwind because I'm a summon spammer, like I said before. Summon Slimy Toad and Albino Toad on the same turn. Spiritual Leash I use instead of Animal Communion because, well, if an ally dies, then obviously I need to revive him and it'll help win the game. I also have 50% resist, so even though I lose 30% resist, I still have a moderate amount. I also have this Fire Dial, which is 12% range resistance, so it's a good addition to that minus 20% resist. Red Wormling instead of Relay. These two are actually very, very nice spells, both very useful. I use Red Wormling because I need to be able to unbewitch enemies in PvP. Has the -1 effect duration, and it's a main summon for an Into Osa such as myself. Relay sometimes I use for PVM just to buff like my IOP up, for example, so I can finish a fight faster. High Energy Shot, I use that instead of Favoritism because I'm an Into Osa. Favoritism doesn't really go good with Red Wormling because Red Wormling can only attack once per turn, per target. If I was Chance or Strength, I would definitely use Favoritism. But the spell is absolutely broken. You've seen me test it. You've probably seen enemy Osas use it as well. It does a shit ton of damage. Like, Osas who use this literally have no skill. It's just a matter of abusing the thing, abusing the system. I use Symbiosa instead of Replacement because Symbiosa allows me to unlock that extra spell and control an extra summon other than the class that I'm merged with. So that allows me to, let's say, Gobble, I can attract someone, or Pogitofu, swap with someone, swap with an ally. Replacement is not necessary because I spam summons anyways, so every single turn I should be getting around 2 summons out there in the field. So I don't really need to replace one with another. So that's why I use Symbiosa. So there you go. Those are my spells and why I use them. I hope you learned a bit more about the Osamodas class. This is just a rough guide to explain which spells are useful for what situation. Yeah, another thing I might let you guys know now is that if you face me in PvP, if you want to beat me, you have to kill my summons because otherwise, by like 5 turns, I'm going to have 8 bloody summons out. Alright, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you at the next video.